Well, after the last hurricane that I bought a bunch of cars from, Hurricane Ian, I told myself I really wasn't going to buy a bunch of flood cars anymore. I lied. I told myself that 2 years ago, and here we are, buying more flood cars, some from Helene, some from Milton, and this is one of them. Let's see, there's moisture on the inside of the headlight. This is an 03 Escalade EXT. Oh, she's definitely been wet. Pretty deep. Wow. Sweet system. That's not the only sweet part. I had no idea that was there. This is the first time looking at this thing. Look at that. Wow, this thing is really clean. Let's see, is there anything in the oil? Please be just oil in the oil. Alright, well, it looks a little over full, but it's not milkshake and it's clean, so that is a good sign. Think we can get this thing to run? I don't know. It's really hard to see how deep the water was. It definitely had some water. Maybe like here? That would be nice. What is, oh, it's got a passport in it. Flip screen. Oil change sticker says 85,000 miles. There's definitely water all over the inside of this thing. Moldy speakers. Those are in really good shape. Look at them amps. Feeling pretty good about this purchase so far. Let's check the transmission fluid. The engine looks pretty clean. It's over full too. So there's definitely water in the engine and trans, but it's not as bad as some of the ones I bought from the last storm. I don't think the water was that high. See if you can see a water line anywhere. Really can't. This is an old cool charger. This could have been installed back when this thing was brand new. I'm gonna try to get this thing to start again. I mean, I got my doubts. Got a bunch of leaves and stuff there. This isn't all corroded. This all looks pretty good. I don't really see a way to tell how high the water was. Oh, I see. There it is down there. So there could be water in the combustion chamber. It doesn't really look like salt water. Not all the flood cars are from salt water. Some of them weren't. Some of them were fresh water if it was near a river. That got wet. Dang, this was a hot ride back in the day. Let's see, did the glove box get wet? Nope. Did not, so that's good. We got a license plate, bunch of paperwork. It's all dry. Climate control looks good. Cluster doesn't look bad. I got hope this thing will start. So the very first thing I want to do is not drain any fluids or any of that stuff. We need to get the body control module out of this thing, which is up here. Right here, because we're going to run it through the sonic cleaner. It's got some stuff holding it in. Now keep in mind, this is not going to get fixed. This car has a certificate of destruction, so I am just doing all this just to get it to operate. Might have to take this lower panel down. Let's do that. Oh, there's all kinds of electronic is jammed up here. Look at all this stuff. Oh, I see the body control module. Getting it out is going to be fun because it's got whatever this aftermarket alarm is. Viper uppercut. Oh, I just disconnected some stuff that I don't know what it went to, but we're getting the body control module down. No green fuzzies on one. There has to be power for green fuzzies, generally speaking. Well, there we go. Oh my goodness, it's clean. It's clean. Yes. I've got a feeling about this. No corrosion. All right, let's see if there's any corrosion on the inside. It's spotless. Well, that is an excellent sight. All right, we're gonna go plug this back in. You gotta check this because if this has a bunch of corrosion or salt water or anything crazy in here when you power it up, it lets the smoke out of stuff. We don't want to let the smoke out of stuff. Can't put it back in. So looking around here, I don't really see anything too crazy as far as corrosion or anything. It doesn't mean there's not water in the engine and where it's not supposed to be. What's this, 2 batteries in it? Excellent. 2 completely dead batteries. So now we're gonna do our best to pull the plugs out of it. And yep. All right, well, one plug has departed us. It is somewhere in the engine bay. I'll have to get it in a minute, but all of these are dry, no water came out. Feeling pretty good about this. All right, let's give it some power, see if it catches on fire, or how bad it catches on fire. Ground goes to the ground point. We're gonna have sparks. Right here. It doesn't appear to be doing anything. Oh. Hey. Where's that horn? Let's just try it again. Yeah, high beam's working. No, we're not dealing with that. Nope. Where's the horn relay? We're gonna fix it that way. Horn. With an N. Horn. Starter, park, fog. DRL horn. Why do you gotta be in this location? Honk at me now. You can do whatever else you want. I don't care about that. Just don't honk at me. All right. We have full power here. All right, we're on. Just hooked up power. Unknown driver, yes. How many miles? 80,000 miles? That's awesome. It's so good. It stinks so bad in here. Nothing's on fire. Oh, climate control works. I can't believe the seat doesn't work. I can't believe it. Does the blower work? No. All right, blower does not work. Whatever this thing is, what does this do? That doesn't do anything. Let's see if the starter works. We're just gonna bump it. All right, so the starter works. All right, let's go see if it pumped out any fluids. Smell fuel. I don't see any water. Hot dog. I think we got a good one, folks. Now we got to get inside and get some fluids out of it and fluids in it. All right, here we go. We're getting inside. Pulling her in. I don't know if I can do this. This is hard to turn, to say the least. We're moving. Pulling it in guarantees that I don't bend the drive shaft, if the auction already didn't do that for me. We're making it. I don't know if I have brakes though. Oh, oh. A lot easier to do this with one hand when we're rolling. Oh, that was a bad sound, and it's fine. Can't hit things with the right side. It's violent. I think we did it though. Or straight. Oh, I gotta straighten this thing out. Oh yeah, it's got brakes. Perfect. All right, guys, I'm back at work. It is pretty late at night, but I can't sleep until I know if this runs or not. So what I'm going to do here is I need to get the water out of the engine oil and the transmission, and I think the power steering, just because I know there's water in there. I'll touch base on that in a second. But water is heavier than oil, and it's heavier than pretty much all petroleum products. So the oil will be sitting at the bottom of the oil pan and the bottom of the transmission pan. Unfortunately, these transmissions don't have a drain bolt, so what I'm going to try to do is suck the water through the dipstick tube from the very bottom of the pan, if I have a long enough straw. And I'm not doing this with my mouth. Stop it. I have a tool for this. And if I get all the water off, it'll turn from clear to transmission fluid. I'll check the level, which I have some extra ATF, and we should be good. Fingers crossed. Now the engine oil, I'm just going to pull the drain bolt out. I'm going to drain the water, and then when it turns into oil, I'll put the bolt back in, and we should be good. And then we can put the plugs back in it and see if it runs. Okay, let's get this set up here. Let's get the dipstick tube out. The reason I know there's water in both the engine oil and the transmission is that they appear to be over full. And since I said water is heavier, that means that there's water at the bottom of these here pans. Okay, I've got the hose buried in the pan, or tube buried in the pan. I'm going to hook up my air right now. Let's shut the valve just for the moment. And we should be sucking. It is not so. Oh, there's transmission fluid. I don't see any water. I am fearful that I'm not getting down to the bottom. I don't see any water. Fluid doesn't look that great either. Let's just suck this down. Maybe we'll just drop the pan, because the last thing I want to do is circulate some water in the transmission, which would totally wreck the transmission. If it's in the pan, it's not a huge deal. But if it circulates through the transmission, it is junk. Totally junk. I mean, maybe I can bring it back, but I'll just avoid the whole scenario. And we're just going to suck down the transmission and see what we can get out when we pull the pan down. Suck this thing down pretty far, and I've seen nothing but transmission fluid. I got the levels right about here. I think we're pretty good here as far as getting all the excess to where we can pull the pan without making a giant mess. So I'm going to disconnect this, and then we're going to get this thing in the air. That's safe. Oh, the transmission pan does have a drain bolt. Well, I jumped to that conclusion way too soon. Let's take a look. So this really doesn't look too bad. I can definitely tell it had some water from a flood in it. You can just tell by the way that the aluminum looks. Looks like it's got stock converters on it. And for those of you that are going to argue with me, you're wrong. Those are stock converters. They had flange converters all the way up into 2004. And then in 2005, they were the round style that everybody's used to. ABS isn't super corroded. Lots of gunk and stuff. Oh, we have some custom exhaust. How does this look back here? Oh, the frame's actually really nice on this thing. Oh yeah, look at that modified exhaust. Yeah, that's how you just it's a hammer fit. And then you just, yeah, how does this side look? Oh, it's broken. See, this would be perfect if that wasn't broken. No spare tire. The rest of this looks really decent. It still has backing plates. Definitely a Southern truck. So here's our LQ9, which still has paint on the block. It's beautiful. The starter is not beautiful, but she'll work. And if she doesn't, we have others. We got to find the drop spark plug, which is probably going to be in this area over here. Someone's put brake calipers on it, both sides. I think what we're going to do first is we're going to drain the transmission fluid, because that's where our dipstick tube comes in. So we're going to drain that, and if no water comes out, we're just going to pop that back in. We'll fill it back up, and then we're going to do the same with the oil. We're going to drain that until we only see oil, and that might be right away. We'll see. But we'll be ready to turn it over once we put some plugs in it. Okay, let's see what we've got. Oh, it's on the tight side. Wow. Okay, I'm doing something wrong. Where's my breaker bar? Dude, that doesn't feel good. Oh, it wants to round off. That's cool. All right, I hit it with the beans. I got it loose. Whoa, I didn't mean to trip you guys. What do we have here? Oh, it's just straight transmission fluid. Fixed it. So there's no water in there. Let's try the engine oil. Now, water could find its way in through the dipstick tube or a seal. And if it's just oil, we're just going to put the plug back in, but I bet there's going to be a little bit of water that comes out of here. Oh, wait. That's just oil. Yeah, that's just oil. Oh, we almost missed the thing here. It was over full a little bit. Yeah, no water in there. We're good. Awesome. No water in the trans, no water in the engine. We are looking good. Just to save my inventory, guys, some time, we're going to see if there's any water in the front carrier. These usually get water in them. Also, no one ever changes this fluid, which is why when I do have a good one of these, I can sell it for $300 or $400, sometimes more. I expect this to look ugly. Oh, there's chunkies. Okay, but there's no water. So water would have been at the bottom. No water in the drivetrain. Obviously, still a risk with the transfer case, still a risk with the rear axle. It'll be fine. All right, now we're back on the ground. I found the missing spark plug. We're going to get the plugs back in it. We're going to get the transmission filled back up with some fresh fluid, even though I didn't drain all of it. We're just going to get it topped off. I'll check the oil, and once it's all back together, it's time to crank it, see if it fires. All right, We're gonna connect battery power. Engine oil is full, transmission fluid full, plugs inserted, plug wires on. It's time to see if it starts. We got sparks. Okay, first start. All right, we have battery light. Here we go. We have oil pressure. Man, that thing fired up so fast. Amazing. Something's angry. It made a big mess. It's alive. What's going on under here? Yeah! Oh, what a deal! What an absolute deal! Service stability? Whoa! Just kidding. Should we give it some revs? It's got oil pressure. Oh, this thing runs great. It's got a brake light on. What a deal this was. At the end of the video, I'll tell you what I ended up paying for this thing. Oh my God. Well, my guys are not gonna have any doubt as to what happened when they come in the morning. Let's unrack it. We're gonna try to drive it forwards and backwards. Do we have a brake pedal? It goes backwards. That was a lot of water. Well, there's no doubt that there was water in this thing. It's a little upset about some things. I'm not quite sure what. Probably battery stuff, electrical stuff. Let's see if the AC works. That's a real dumb idea. Actually, here, let's see. Oh yeah. That's amazing. Back windows, dead. The door locks work. Let's do we have AC? Oh, it doesn't matter. The blower has perished. Should we drive this thing? Should we? You think that's a good idea? It's got a brake pedal. It's got part of a brake pedal. I gotta sort this mess, but we got zip ties. I think we need to test the transmission. It's got some temperatures in it. Come on, let the Alpine play. I bet there's some electrical issues. Ooh, I still have some ocean in here. More ocean. I hope that's not poop water. This was a deal. That 80,000 miles, 12 miles to the gallon. That's a generous number. Look at that. Maybe that needs to go in my truck. What do you guys think? That's super cool. It's running really good. It's nice and smooth because it's got a tiny little bitty hand shaft in it. What a deal. This is going to be the best thing I buy out of Florida, I promise. Oh, it's just... yeah. Seatbelt on. Oh, it smells terrible in here.
It's got a water feature too.
Ah, that's nice. I wish the Alpine would play.
I tried, it doesn't.
Aww. That sounds good. I don't have a plate on. Is this okay? Too far from home. Let's let that race car get out of the way. Can't tell what gear I'm in. This cluster needs R and D.
It's a 460, so I assume it's neutral.
All of them are neutral except for park. And that's neutral if you're moving. Don't die. I can't change the seat, and whoever's driving this is stronger than I am. Ready?
Yep.
That was really underwhelming. I didn't look back to see if it
There's a little bit of a breakup there at the top.
yeah.
Misfires.
I mean, who knows what gas is in it? It could have 87 octane, it's got no fuel in it.
Not very much.
Alright, let's do one more whole shot and see if we can launch this thing. Get some. There's a little bit of water that this thing left on the road. Oh, that was rough. So somebody had some money in this truck.
And even to paint the stereo system, they had a lot.
Yeah, and the supercharger.
Yeah.
And they put some money into it. He'll launch. This thing drives great. It really drives great. It needs an alignment. It needs a small detail on the inside, and it's ready to go. Okay, it's a flood car. And when cars get in floods, especially saltwater floods like this one, they might be fine for now, but they will need a ton of work to keep them fine unless you replace all kinds of parts. Now, that doesn't mean this isn't worth fixing. I did find out, however, this is not a factory orange color, even though they did make an orange similar to this on the GMT 800s, I think in 02 and 03 Avalanches and Suburbans and Tahoes. But this is actually originally a pewter Escalade. Someone repainted this. Someone put a ton of money into this thing, which is crazy. The system, the supercharger kit, which I did some reading and I think it's dealer installed, which means that this supercharger kit could be 20 years old. It's awesome. Either way, this was someone's nice toy. Someone was really proud of this thing, especially considering it's only got 80,000 miles on it. They probably didn't drive it every day. This was someone's fair weather vehicle, and it's kind of sad to see it in this condition. Now, I would wager that this thing had larger wheels and tires on it before it went to the auction, because the inner fenders are worn like this on both sides. It probably had some like 22s or something cool, probably era correct. If you know anything about this thing, definitely let me know. Back in the day, God, I hate saying that. It sounds like, back in my day. What I really meant to say is, when this thing was new, back in the early 2000s and even before, there was a company called E&G Classics. I think I'm remembering that correct. And they made metal grills. Sometimes they were gold, sometimes they were silver, for mainly Cadillacs. There's some other cars that made them for, but mainly Cadillacs. And they replaced plastic grills. They were really popular on Eldorados and DeVilles and Sevilles, but they also made them for the Escalade. Now, I'm not sure if this is an actual E&G grill or a cheap knockoff. If it is an actual E&G grill, this is worth quite a bit of money. Now, I've never dreamed of owning an 03 Escalade EXT. It's never been a goal of mine. I do love the GMT 800s. These are fantastic vehicles, but I feel bad for this because this is totally repairable. It has rockers on it still. They're not full of license plates and fiberglass and expanding foam, which is like every single GMT 800 in the Midwest. It doesn't have rust on the dog legs or behind the back tires. It still has backing plates on the rear end. That never happens here. This literally needs a good power wash, all the fluids changed, and an interior. The dash is cracked. You put a dash in it, put seats, carpet, center console, door panels, a body harness, which sounds terrible, but it's really not bad on one of these things, especially with all the other parts out. And most of the parts this thing needs are super cheap. In fact, almost every single GMT 800 Escalade I've had in here, I've thrown away most of the parts that would have fixed this thing because the demand is just not there, or the supply is too much. If there's 100 of them available, the chances of me selling one for 20 bucks isn't worth the labor or the risk, so it usually gets tossed with the car. And this thing could easily be repaired. Probably less than $1,000 worth of parts used, and probably a week's worth of work. And for somebody to have a rust-free 80,000 mile supercharged Escalade EXT, that sounds awesome. I've never really desired to own one of these things, but I would totally fix this thing. But I can't. I cannot fix. I have to destroy this. I am now going to explain what I understand about the state of Florida and total losses, and why this Escalade cannot legally be driven on the road again. And if I am incorrect about anything I'm about to say, please correct me in the comments. I don't know everything. I can't possibly know everything, but collectively you all know more than I do. So if you have a vehicle insured in the state of Florida and it's issued a total loss claim, like it's wrecked, you crash it into a lake, it gets flooded, catches on fire, a tree falls on it, a tornado picks it up and throws it into the state of Georgia. If anything happens to it and you're paid out for that vehicle, the insurance company buys the vehicle from you, in which case it gets sent to a salvage auction, which is no different than any state in the entire country. However, the insurance company petitions the state of Florida to issue one of several different types of titles. It can be a clean title, which usually isn't the case unless it's super minor damage. And oftentimes it's a salvage rebuilder's title, which means you fix whatever is damaged, whether it's flood, fire, or collision, and you get it inspected, and then it's issued a rebuilt title, in which case it's always branded. It's not a clean title, but you can legally license and drive it and insure it anywhere in the country. Or they can petition the state to issue a certificate of destruction, which means the vehicle has to be dismantled. It cannot be legally licensed anywhere to be driven. Now, I understand there are a few states where you can get license plates for it and drive it there, but you can't transfer it out of those states, and unless you live there, it's kind of a moot point, and I don't live in one of those states. So this vehicle was issued a certificate of destruction. Keep in mind, this thing could be fixed in 1 week for less than $1,000. There are some vehicles that have come in here that I've bought from Hurricane Ian, Helene, that have way worse damage, totally irreparable. The body harness is green fuzzies. The cars were completely submersed. I've even had them come in on clean titles. And I can fix those. I mean, you can't fix those, but you could fix those if you really wanted to. But this certificate of destruction, now it is entirely the discretion of the insurance company as to which type of title is issued. There's no law or rules governing how that is judged. So I'm not going to name the insurance company that recommended this be a certificate of destruction, because that would be wrong and immoral and not fair. Here's another flood car I won. This is the second car I won. It's a 01 BMW Z3, and the water line is somewhere around, that's what they marked it. It's actually about here. It's really deep. It smells awful in here. It's mold. There's all kinds of ick. Look what the cluster did. This car, you can see there's the water line on the speaker. So that's like right there. Look at underneath the hood. Look how corroded all the aluminum is. Now there's no water in the oil, but I bet there's water in the cylinders. I bet that engine's bad. I bet the transmission has water in it. And being a low car and having a ton of modules in it is a recipe for a really tough repair. I mean, I'm not going to say that you couldn't fix this. I'm just going to say that you shouldn't fix this. I've had this thing opened for a while. I mean, look at all the tools are rusty. So even with all this damage, all of the salt water and whatever else that drug into this car, legally, I could put this car back on the road. Explain that one to me. Now, I'm not advocating that I should do that. Obviously, I don't think that that's a good idea. However, legally, I could. I would be well within my right to put whatever time or effort into this thing to get it to where it ran and drove and put it back on the road. But the Escalade, even though it does run and drive and I could fix that in way less time, that one's got to come apart. This is an 07 335 manual, two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive. This car has 71,000 miles on it. It runs and drives great. The seat is in-up, so the seat tracks. It definitely has some water in it, but this is a beautiful car. I mean, absolutely a beautiful car. And I have all the parts here to fix it. You can see there's the water line. It's really low water line. Fired right up with no work necessary. And I have to part that one out because it's got a certificate of destruction. It doesn't make any sense. I can fix the totally bombed Z3, can't fix the Escalade or this thing. So now what am I going to do with this thing since I can't fix it? It's not legal to go back on the road, and I'm not going to go through that headache to make it somebody else's problem. So I have to part this out, but that's okay because that's what we do here. We buy vehicles at the auction and we part them out. And if you don't include what the engine and the supercharger are, all the rest of this thing, the transmission, the axle, front differential, the rear axle, the transfer case, all the cladding, all the Avalanche, Escalade EXT specific stuff, the electronics, all of it, I'm at a 20% cost of goods. which is wild because in this industry, 35 to 40% is the norm. Sometimes it's even higher than that. So to be in this 20%, not including this, is awesome. Now, the real question is, why am I not including the engine and the supercharger in the parts that I will sell? Why would I want to exclude that? Well, I think the hoarding gene in my body, the project acquisition gene that I was born with, is going to utilize it. But if I'm going to swap this 6-liter and supercharger into something else, it has to be something easy. It has to be something that I can just bolt in, that there's plenty of aftermarket support, something that is able to be done in a couple weekends, that I don't have to do a bunch of fabrication or research a bunch of how things are going to work, that parts are readily available for, and something that I already own. Yeah. This is my 2006 Sierra half-ton, and this is not a truck I bought because I needed a home for the engine out of that Escalade. I've had this thing for over 4 years. I imported it from Texas, where there isn't rock salt, there isn't snow, and it's fairly dry, and it looks the part underneath. In fact, when I put the leveling shackles in the back of it, I did so with a 3/8 ratchet because I wanted to see how it felt to work on something that's not rusty. And I absolutely love this truck. I adore it so much because it's my fair weather light duty hauler. I can haul stuff in the back. I can have my kids with me. I can have my whole family with me. The dog fits in it. I can put bikes in the bed, and I can do all of that without having to climb up into a tall 4-wheel drive 3/4 ton that's usually pretty dirty from going to work. And I keep this thing nice. It sits in a garage all winter long. It never gets driven in the rock salt. The only problem with this truck, well, there's a couple. Number one is that it's pretty slow. And I understand a 5.3 is not super slow for its era, but it's a slug. It has 323 gears in it. It has a 4L65, which I'm waiting for any day now to make its final 2 to 3 shift. It's going to happen. I just don't want it to happen to me. And I think I can fix both of those things. So it's a perfect home for a supercharged 6-liter. Perfect home. The idea of making this truck faster and more fun to drive existed the moment this thing showed up on the transport truck. But I've never really had an easy button. Everything was, well, maybe if I rebuild this engine, or I take a really expensive engine out of inventory, which would put me in the red out of whatever vehicle that engine came from. And I can't make that decision. I have a business to run first. So this is the easy button. But it also has a 4L65 in it, 4L60, that's not going to cope with whatever that engine puts out for very long. And I also am not a big fan of the way these transmissions are in general. I'm kind of a guy that likes 3 pedals, so we're definitely going to manual swap this truck. The question is, what transmission am I going to use? Should I use the NV3500 that bolts right into this truck that came in the standard and extended cab base model trucks, or should I use something a little different? Where would I ever find a transmission that is way less clunky to drive than an NV3500 and not nearly as expensive as a T56? I wish I knew. I can already see the comments now. Automatics win races.
That Powerdyne is junk. It's not going to make any more power than a good heads and cam kit. You should just turbocharge it. It's supposed to be a truck, not a race car. Leave that truck alone. It's stock and nice.
K-swap it.
That's going to ruin that perfectly good truck. Well, I think you would be happy if you just re-geared your truck. It's going to be terrible in traffic with a manual in a pickup truck. You're not going to like it.
You may all have very valid points, but I already own this. I already own that, and I already own that. I just got to put them together. It seems really easy, right? There's no way I would ever change anything in the process, like a cam or long tubes. No, I'm going to just leave it the way it is. I understand this is a relatively abnormal video for this channel, and it's not because I don't like doing it. It's also not because there aren't cars to get started. It's because I've been working on some side projects in my spare time. It's hard to say spare time. And I just haven't had the time to film stuff like this. However, part of my business is buying vehicles that don't run to get them running so that I can inventory the parts and make the most amount of money from them. And I might have already bought 10 cars out of the state of Florida that were in a hurricane. Now, some of them are a totally lost cause, and not all of them are going to be as cool as a supercharged Escalade. But there are a lot of cars to get started, and it takes the same amount of effort to get one running, whether I'm at work or I drive back to work at night to film. So I might just get the camera out more often. If you guys really like videos like this, I might do more of them, but I need to know in the comments. I want to know, do you guys like this kind of video? And again, I can't promise it's going to be something as cool as a repainted, fully built out to 2003 spec supercharged Escalade. But there's still cars that went under floodwater that I'm going to try to get started, because the more cars I get running, the more money I make. Speaking of making money, I'd like to sell parts off of this, not the engine or the supercharger. So if you'd like to buy any parts off of this Escalade or anything else you've seen in the background or anything else you see on importapart.com, you can peruse our inventory. I've been uploading our inventory just about every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, as I ramp up the number of cars that I purchase. We are 2 weeks into auction sales out of the state of Florida for hurricane cars. 2 weeks in, and I've bought 10. This is going to be a wild ride. I really hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.